Welcome back to KARE 11 News Now. I'm Chris Harapsky. A massive federal spending cuts package awaits House approval after passing 51-48 in the Senate. If it passes, more than $1 billion that goes to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting will disappear. KARE 11's Sammy Selena talked to our local public radio station about the possible impacts here in Minnesota.
Journalists at NPR are busy covering today's news as per usual.
It has been a difficult time to work in this organization.
But one headline stands out. Senate passes $9 billion in spending cuts to public broadcasting and foreign aid. $1.1 billion of that impacts public media.
It takes a toll. It definitely does.
Chandra Kavati is the president of American Public Media, the national programming and distribution division of Minnesota Public Radio.
We will still be navigating through and, making tough choices because we are a fiscally, financially responsible organization.
In combination with state funding cuts, they could have a $6 million budget gap that could impact all sorts of programming.
The argument that's made now is that public broadcasting is biased, that it is left-wing biased, and that if it's going to be publicly funded, it needs to be ideologically neutral. That's the argument. It's not a new argument.
Jane Kirtley is a professor of media, ethics, and law here at the University of Minnesota. Her assessment of NPR is that it does operate independently, and that's part of the reason Republicans are targeting public media funding.
One explanation for this is that the government does not want there to be an independent watchdog. They don't want there to be an entity out there that is challenging the government line.
She says these cuts will disproportionately impact smaller stations throughout the state.
There's not going to be the kind of governmental reporting, watchdog reporting, that these communities need and frankly depend upon.
Here in the upper Midwest, there are at least 12 stations that have more than 30% of their funding is tied to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. And in some cases, there are some stations where the losses will be insurmountable, frankly, and they won't be able to carry forward.
Now, not all Republicans supported this. Some said many of their rural constituents rely on public media. Alaska's Lisa Murkowski pointed to an example on the Aleutian Islands where a public radio station warned of a potential tsunami. Our local housing market just hit a new high. When Minnesota Realtors crunched the numbers in June, they found the median sale price in the Twin Cities metro hit $400,000 for the very first time. While sellers might be happy to see the increase, KARE 11's Kent Erdahl explains affordability is also dropping to new lows.
Going from an employee to the owner of Lake Street Auto Center 5 years ago took a lot of hard work.
It's a gigantic effort.
But if Santiago Wachamin had to pick the bigger struggle, buying a business or buying his first house last year,
I will say buying the house, especially in the market that we are at now.
According to that June report from Minnesota Realtors, not only did the median sales price surpass the $400,000 threshold for the first time in the Twin Cities metro, the median statewide also set a new record of $370,000.
We have a shortage, and it's not just in the state of Minnesota. I'm seeing that nationally.
Jennifer Livingston is president of the St. Paul Association of Realtors and says even though it was only a matter of time before we hit that benchmark, it's still a big psychological hurdle.
So we get to be a therapist and all the things as a realtor.
Especially now.
Yeah.
And at a time when a key local affordability index also tumbled to a new low, due in part to mortgage rates sitting just below 7%, she's not just concerned about first-time homebuyers staying on the sidelines.
One of the biggest challenges we're seeing right now are the people that are locked into the low interest rates, some 2 to 3.5%, and they don't want to get rid of that interest rate, so they are not selling their home.
Though it sounds bleak, she insists hope and the right home is attainable.
I always tell people, I'm going to hold your hand the entire way, and it always starts with working with a really good loan officer. We're spending a lot more time with them up front before we actually take them out to look at properties.
For example, she says the state's homeownership programs have connected many to state and local down payment assistance and, in some cases, forgivable grants.
And then we also have other local banks that are offering a fixed rate mortgage with certain income restrictions at a 5.25%. So if they're not a now buyer, by working with a loan officer now, they can find out, okay, well, maybe I'm a 2-year buyer.
Santiago thought that would be the case for his family until his lender helped connect him with a VA loan as a member of the Army National Guard.
It took a lot of sacrifice for us to get the home that we have, and even us, our house, we have to sub-rent part of it to afford it, because otherwise we will not be able.
And he says that's especially true 1 year later.
We can see the prices increasing and people can't afford much anymore. I see my employees, they try to get there, but it just gets really hard.
Kent Erdahl reporting there. Santiago couldn't say enough good things about his realtor and the lender with the VA loan who saved him more than a full percent point of interest. It took him from a 2-year to a 2-month timeline before he found his home in Minnetonka. Stick with us. We got more news and weather coming up after break.